He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will abide in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say to the Lord, my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. This is how Psalm 91 begins. It's most well known for its messianic implications. It is from this passage that Satan quoted during his second of three temptations of Jesus after his 40 days in the wilderness. As recorded in Matthew 4, then the devil took him to the holy city and set him on the pinnacle of the temple and said to him, "If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it is written, He will command His angels concerning you, and on their hands they will bear you up, lest you strike your foot against a stone." These words echo verses 11 and 12 of Psalm 91. As he did in response to each of the devil's temptations, Jesus replied with a scriptural quotation of his own. Jesus said to him, "Again it is written, you shall not put the Lord your God to the test," drawing on the words of Deuteronomy 6:16. Each of Jesus' responses teach us a great deal. This one, though, has particular application for us right now. Jesus basically said to Satan, I don't need to prove myself to you. I don't need to prove my identity, my power, or the surety of my purpose. There was no test he needed to pass. God had already abundantly demonstrated His supreme glory throughout history over and over again. The worldwide flood, Joseph and the dreams of Pharaoh, the plagues of Egypt, crossing over the Jordan on dry land, the destruction of the walls of Jericho, spoiler alert, the fire from heaven on Mount Carmel, which we'll discuss this coming Sunday, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fiery furnace, Daniel in the lion's den, and so much more. These glorious revelations of God's complete power trace through a wide variety of circumstances, some good, some terrible, all of which work together to reveal His sovereignty as they led to that moment when Jesus said, "You shall not put your Lord God to the test." Jesus had nothing to prove, but He still had some things left to do. And one of those things was the greatest demonstration of His power and sovereignty of them all. The devil quoted from Psalm 91, 11, and 12, affirming that those verses spoke of the coming Messiah. He conveniently stopped before verse 13 and the end of the stanza, which says, "You will tread on the lion and the adder, the young lion and the serpent you will trample underfoot." If that also sounds familiar concerning the coming Messiah, it should. It echoes the words found all the way back in Genesis chapter 3, right after the fall of man and God's announcement to the serpent of His plan for what was to come. "I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and her offspring. He shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel." This verse was eventually given a fancy name, the Proto-Evangelium, the first gospel. The ultimate offspring of Adam and Eve referenced here, the second Adam, the Son of Man, the Son of God, would endure the physical suffering of death on the cross, alluded to as the bruising of his heel. However, in the process, he would deal a mortal blow to the plans of Satan to destroy God's design for eternal fellowship with mankind, referenced as the bruising of his head. Jesus would die, but then live again. Satan's scheme, on the other hand, would never recover. A few years after the devil spoke the words of Psalm 91 to Jesus, the Messiah did exactly what Genesis 3:15 and Psalm 91:13 promised that He would. He has proved beyond all doubt that His plans and His power are without equal and have not wavered from the dawn of creation to this very moment. All of that comes back to bear on the rest of Psalm 91, but in particular to one phrase I'd like to draw your attention to in verse 5. You will not fear the terror of the night. This verse was brought to my attention early this morning through a daily email I received from the ministry of Alistair Begg with material drawn from Charles Spurgeon's work, Morning and Evening. It highlighted this verse and gave today's thoughts the title, The Sleepless Guardian, reflecting a line from Spurgeon. God our Father is here and will be with us all through the lonely hours. He is an almighty watcher, a sleepless guardian, a faithful friend. The terror of the night. Darkness has long held a symbolic significance associated with fear for humanity. It is often the fear of the unknown, the recognition that there is much out there that we cannot see and that might seek to do us harm, much beyond our control. Such notions steal away our rest and refuse to allow our minds to quiet in the still of the evening. For most of my life, sleep has come rather easily. Recent years have begun to change that. I've long ago lost count of the number of hours I've spent laying awake while my mind turns circumstances of great concern over and over. Perhaps that describes you during these recent days. There's so much that we don't know about what is going on and what is to come. But here's what we do know. We have a sleepless guardian who is greater than whatever is out there in the darkness and who already knows what's coming. He has conquered the worst that could be thrown at him and knew that his plan to do so was perfect and would succeed before it was ever needed. We can rest because he does not. We can have peace because he has already won. We can have hope because his course is sure. God doesn't need to prove anything to us, but he has already proven that he is worthy to trust in all things. Psalm 91 reminds us what is possible in him. He will cover you with his pinions, and under his wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness is a shield and buckler. You will not fear the terror of the night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that stalks in darkness, nor the destruction that wastes at noonday. You will not fear the terror of the night. Why? The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. May the Lord bless you and keep you in the wee hours of the night as you remember that he is your sleepless guardian.